Hello, second grade. Okay, this project is your fall leaves project. Ideally, we're using watercolors after we draw it, but crayons and markers are going to work out just fine for this. Also, when I envisioned the project and we created, I have my paper oriented this way, but you can certainly change it and have it this way if you prefer, but that's up to you. Okay. What we talked about is contrasting colors on the color wheel, and then contrasting colors on our painting. Meaning that if I choose yellows, oranges, and reds for my leaves, I want the opposite colors, which would be, blues, greens, and purples for the background. You can paint your leaves one leaf yellow, one leaf orange, or you could blend them yellow and orange. As long as our leaves are at one color family, meaning that, let's say I pick the warm colors, yellow, orange, and red, and then my background colors are purples, blues, and greens, the cooler colors, it's going to stand out really well because that contrast allows for the leaves to pop out from the background. Okay? All right, so when we get started, you can draw any type of leaf that you want. I'm going to draw a couple that are all almost falling down from here. So if I'm going to make a version of, let's say, like a maple leaf, I can draw this one triangle here and a kind of a smaller triangle on each side, and then maybe another one that's much smaller pointing here. And this is towards the base, and then draw my stem. Okay, so it's a very simplified maple leaf, but it looks pretty nice when it's done. And then I'm going to change it. I want to make sure they're not all exactly the same. We want to have some variety in the shape. So again, when I make my leaf, large triangle, followed by some smaller ones on the sides, smaller ones down here. And you can even add an extra if you would like. Okay, just again for some variety. So I have a leaf here. If you want to make, don't stress too much over the shape of the leaves too. As long as they're generally leaf shaped, they're going to look pretty nice. If you want to make a different shape of leaf too, you can. Like if I want to do something like this, it could be like an elm leaf. That would be fine. Or if you wanted to tackle an oak leaf, you could. Let's say I'm going to make one more generic little shape of a leaf here. All right. Once I have those drawn, we definitely want to outline it with a black Sharpie or black permanent marker. That way it's going to separate our colors really well for us and give us a nice line to paint up to. So take your time, outline all of these. So outline all these down. Now, when we get to the watercolors, you will definitely need water. Let's say I'm going to start with my yellows and my oranges first, because that way it's going to keep my brush as clean as possible. Because if I do purples and blues in the background and then try to rinse my brush off and go to the yellows and oranges, you might run into a little bit of trouble. Okay, so remember, the watercolors need the water to be activated. So what I do is just dip my brush in and paint some water on there. When I start these, I'm painting. You have a couple ways you can paint it, and I think blending these look really nice. So I'm going to put my yellow in first, and I'm going to switch over to my orange. And when I paint up here, I don't want to just leave like a line. What I want to do is kind of do some circles, paint over a little bit, rinse my brush off here. Then I'm going to go back to the yellow, kind of gently do those circles in and out, and that's going to pull the orange into the yellow and the yellow into the orange. Okay, you can see how there's a harsh line here. I want to go back with my orange, paint in that, switch up to a brighter red. And again, these paintbrushes are designed to be pulled, meaning like pulled this direction or like this, or even when I go like this back and forth, it's pulling it. When I push it, it messes up all the bristles, and it's not going to work as well. So that's a good habit to get into, is trying to always pull your paintbrush. Even if you're pulling it in circles like this, I'm pulling it. It keeps them nice and in control, and the life of your brush will last longer. So I take my time. I paint all of those in nice and pretty. You can even, if your color does come with the 16 color set, you might get this bright magenta. And actually, that's kind of nice to put in some areas. Just gives it, like, let's say, like on the edge of the sleeve here, just a little bit of that really bright pop of color. Just kind of put those in here. So again, just paint, kind of essentially just doing an abstract colors on your leaves. So I'm just kind of picking the colors and the patterns that I think look nice. I'm not, trying to paint anything in particular. Okay. Now, because I chose yellows and oranges and the warm colors for my leaf, I want to make sure my background is in the opposite contrasting colors. So that would be your purples, your blues, and your greens. To be honest, I'm probably going to stay away from green because I feel like I like to think of it more of the sky, and the blues and purples are going to read more like a sky. So first, you want to make sure you find them on your watercolors. Sometimes the purples can look very similar to the blues. Now this purple, you have that purple. And that purple. Okay, so if you have the 16 color set, if you have the 8 color, it's just, your purple is your only option, which is fine. But I want to mix between this purple and then this blue, because I think that those really give us the most contrasting colors. Like, I really like that blue against the yellow, and I really like that purple against my orange colors. So I'm going to start with my blue. You want to be careful that you don't get the wet blue too close to the wet yellow of your leaf. So even if you wait a couple minutes or half hour after you do the leaves, because if I get a wet blue next to my wet yellow, it's just going to blend and pull it together, which we don't want. So what I do is I'm just kind of mixing in spots and patterns my blue and my purple. And I would just continue this all the way down until my whole paper is filled up. Just being careful, making sure to cover all of the white areas. I would try not to leave any harsh lines. You want to try to blend it as best you can as far as like a soft transition from each color. I think that's what's going to make it look the nicest when it's finished. Okay, so I'd take my time and I would just fill this all the way down. All right, I'll be excited to see you guys make them.